Okay, you're going to get my Sunday sermon. I made it early today, and you will see that before you see this. It's now 4:30. Today I took a good ride. I was wanting to do an update today, but I took a ride to my daughter's ranch. I could have showed you how she has set up her own pet shelter and all the animals, and it's her own, I think, Chimwells County Pets Alive. By the way, I don't ask for support, but it would be good if some of my friends would maybe try to support that, because her funds are not really, she has a good degree, my daughter. She had the degree from A&M, and she had a good job working at that. There's a monkey testing laboratory in Alice, and she had a very good job. It was fairly high paying, but the treatment of the monkeys she didn't like. And even though they're lab monkeys, she just didn't want, and so she went into the nonprofit. But it's financially, she struggles, but she owns that property. So I'll do this. This will always, whenever you see my teaching videos, and then you see the updates I don't repost because I deal with news. But for those that go to the original YouTube channel, the one you see these on, the first one, they're always on there. I wanted to, I'll do a little brief review. Today, in Schoharie County, many in the media are pronouncing it wrong. I'm sure the Kohler Times will do a story on it, but I don't think they ever even leave their building. Meaning, they report on things and they don't even know if these towns exist. Reporting to them is, oh, someone else told us. You would say today, and you do that with important issues. Schoharie County, in the news today, top news, 20 people were killed. I've been to Schoharie many times. It's upstate New York, about 180 miles away from New York City. Upstate New York is country. It sticks, it's hill country. But I went there as a kid to deer hunt with my father. And the firefighters, my father was a firefighter, retired as a captain for North Bergen Fire Department. So they had the firemen hunting, guys. And I went as a young boy. And that's Schoharie. And 20 people were killed. The NTSB is even on the scene today. National Transport Safety Board, whatever. Supposedly it was a wedding limousine with 18 people in it. And then they hit two bystanders, maybe 20 people. But then there's some reports that there was an explosion. 20 people dying in a car wreck. It's just... So I wanted to mention that. Now on the news today, the teaching video dealt with abortion. And I read the news. I managed, the connection online is difficult out there, but I caught the news on my phone. CNN, the media actually talked about how many, there was particular senators voting on Kavanaugh, and some they sent coat hangers to them. These are strong Democratic people, younger people I'm sure, and also the media, which agrees 90-something% with this abortion thing in our country. And they sent coat hangers, and the media reported it. They were basically sending these coat hangers to Democratic people that were going to vote on the nomination of Kavanaugh, and basically saying, if you put somebody on the court who we actually tried to slander, we'll get to the porn lawyer Avenatti and his client, who should be investigated for having sex with minors, by her own admission. But the Democrat Party and the media seem to have a blind eye to what their side of the aisle does. So the coat hangers that were sent this last few weeks, and the media reported that they were sent to people that were going to possibly approve Brett Kavanaugh. That was a message saying this, for those who are not real familiar with that. They were basically saying, if it's ever outlawed to kill a child fully developed then we will have to rip them up with our coat hangers. The days where it was indeed illegal. That's what that message was. So you have, if you will, a raging party, a lunatic fringe that says if you do not let us legally kill these fully developed children, we will stick coat hangers. Why? We have a right to do with our own body. Is it possible for you to not get pregnant? How dare you tell us not? Then is it possible if you did get pregnant to not have to wait to the stage where you said, we will ram coat hangers on? Are you lunatics? That's what I wanted to tell you, but it was a teaching minute. And what about the leadership in this country? Do we have laws? Laws that say murder is a crime? Of course we do. Do we have laws that... So are ethical things understood that we have penalties against certain types of acts? And you have a party in this country, various ones in the Democratic Party at times, they were shown fully formed children, late-term abortions, perfectly beautiful children that the media, the social networks never want you to see. Google it. Google pictures of late-term abortion and tell me it's not a child. But yet you have a party that says we refuse to stop sticking coat hangers in us. How about you just don't get pregnant? Is that a possibility? Well, we don't want to use protection because it don't feel that good. How about you do some restriction somewhere in this country that says if the child gets to the late term, it's a beautiful baby. No, we want to kill it. I could have titled this, you possibly are putting your soul in jeopardy for supporting a Holocaust like that. You align yourself with any... I'm not a Republican, but I don't see how any Christian... I heard a minister once, a fairly scholarly man, and he wanted to be... And I liked him, I won't give the name. He said, oh yes, I'm for abortion because if my wife... It's not a question of whether or not we're going to force people to have kids that don't want to have kids. It's a question of whether or not, in our advanced scientific time, where we recognize that a 9-month pregnant woman has a child in her, if a doctor stuck his hand and had sexual gratification by touching somehow either that woman or that child, that would be considered a high sex offense, rightfully so. Though that child, if he stuck it in, that child would have no memory of it. But we make that a crime because of the psychological effect that has. And if you had a person, a demented doctor that went into a nursery and sexually touched a 1-day-old girl, no different than the minute she was born, the same beautiful child, that's a crime, sir. But yet you could take that same child, if he stuck his hand in the womb, got sexual gratification, he sexually assaulted that child, and it's a sin. But he could stick a scalpel in there and dismember that thing. And you cheer for that. You are demented. Those of you that give voice to that are demented. Now, CNN, today, they're blaming the passing of Brett Kavanaugh to make it to the court. They're blaming, and this was their article on CNN Online, they are blaming cable news networks for giving Michael Avenatti a voice. CNN and MSNBC were the two cable news networks that put that clown on the air. Now, that guy's a clown. He didn't care about defending the Stormy Daniels. And then he put a woman up who basically admitted that she went to parties with underage high school kids after she already was in college to continue to engage in sexual things with those kids. She gave enough evidence, because that's what she was alluding to, though Mr. Kavanaugh was not a part of it. And so where are the charges on that woman? What was her name? Swetnick? Where's the media saying, wait a minute, you seem to have said enough, one of Avenatti's clients, that that woman possibly had voluntary sex with minors. But the media, if it's their particular side, they don't care. If it's a Norma McCorvey, the woman who had highly credible accusations of rape against Bill Clinton, they mocked that woman, called that woman a slut, and said they deserve. The media did that. And the Democrat Party did that. The same party that people are now saying, we will stick coat hangers in ours. How about you self-control yourself? And how about you don't kill those kids with a coat hanger either, which would also be considered murder. And you know, it is the media that has given voice to this in this country. That's given platforms to the clowns like Avenatti. And then they're so duped that the CNN would have an article today online that says the reason Kavanaugh passed is because the cable news networks then gave voice to Michael Avenatti. The more I look at all this, every one of those accusations I believe against Kavanaugh were fake. And when you look at that Blasey Ford lady who is like, oh, she concocted things. That's why the Democrat senators don't want to release all the other stuff, the information. If you can't even look at a fully formed child, when pictures, I think it was Rick Santorum, he put a picture up of a fully formed child and asked one of the key Democrat people, is that a child? Of course it was. But that person said that was not a decision that she should ever make. Meaning, to look at a baby and say it's a baby, that's not a decision. But how could you even justify then laws against murder? Could you look at a black person and say it's a human? Of course we can. Do you need some scientific proof in the days of slavery? The Democrat Party was the pro-slavery party in this country. The Democrat Party was the pro-slave, and Lincoln was a Republican. And it was the Democrat Party, and we have terms, Dixiecrats, Bull Connor, all this. The Democrats, and you say, we have changed now. You have not changed. You go with the wind. Jesus said about John the Baptist, would you go out to sea? A reed shaking with the wind? But a prophet and more than a prophet. And John told you the truth. And so this will be the update. Because I am mad that they deem themselves some type of noble voice of society. And they play those games with you and me. And these younger generation, they just don't know. Leaders are elders. The Hispanic leadership of this local media. What a disgrace that you have given voice to such an atrocity. I didn't get to go to my cathedral today. But how could you even take the Eucharist when you've given voice to the blood of those kids? You have permitted it because you're part of the party sending coat hangers. Coat hangers. The message is, if you make it illegal for us to abort these fully formed children, we will rip them up with coat hangers in our rooms because you will not stop us from what bloodlust. They worship Moloch in the Old Testament. There was an idol, a figure of an idol. They sacrificed their kids on the altar of Moloch, a false god. And this idol was like this picture, like a huge bronze type of statue. And its arms were open and there was a fire. And they would put the pagan countries would put their kids and offer them on an altar. And the people of God got to a point where God said, you have strayed so far. You have worshipped those things, those false idols. So this is a word today about the seriousness. And our local paper, they put people that are commenting on these things joking about them, their faces, laughing. You will give an account for that, for how irresponsible you have been. Yes, I agree, CNN. The clown Avenatti should have never been given the platform you gave that clown. But you did it because you thought he was to your benefit. And now you're saying, well, he hurt our cause. And you won't even admit you were the ones that gave that guy a voice? All right, so that's your update for today.